let's talk about it for a second. Physical media, right? I'm an '06 baby, right? I grew up on physical media, DVDs, games with it in, CDs, all that jazz, bro. I was there from the transition from CDs to freaking streamings, if that makes sense. But for it to not be like our future to not have physical copies anymore, I feel like physical copies gonna be like vintage shit. Like, you know how like albums is now, put them in the bag, as souvenirs, shit like that. Which I'm not mad about, which I'm not upset about, because that's what, usually what happens through time. If shit gets old, you gotta elevate through time. You can't stop evolution. Evolution is gonna happen whatever the fuck. So physical copies being gone is a 50-50 thing, because one, companies have enough money to make CDs, DVDs, all that stuff. But who's nowadays is going out buying CDs and DVDs? It's all streaming services. People want to be lazy. People don't want to get up. They want to order Pizza Hut, sit there on their lazy butts, and get on Netflix, bro. They don't want to go to Blockbuster. They ain't even know Blockbuster no more. I don't even think there's no Redbox. I remember being little, my mom going to Redbox and just like, flipping the thing and asking me what I want, and then the DVD would come out in that little slide. That shit was so cool to me as a kid. That shit was so cool, and it felt like a reward, because I didn't know how much Redbox cost, but like it felt expensive to us as a little kid. Now, if I'm a little kid now, right, and I want to watch something, I could literally look it up. Back then, I had to wait. I had to like imagine that shit in my head. Like, I had to not just watch it. There's movies I haven't watched because like I didn't have the DVD for it, That's why DVDs are a treasure, because it gives off that wondering in people that, oh, wait, like you going over your friend's house, you grab a DVD that you've never seen before, you about to watch a movie you've never seen. Like, but if you go on TikTok and see a movie clip, you can literally search that up. You get what I'm trying to say here, bro? You're not getting that, like, bro, I need to watch this movie, bro. What is this called? Yo, I need to learn more. And you just imagine every subplot in the movie that there is until you watch it, or unless you give up. That's the same thing with games, bro. That's the exact same thing with games. When I was little, I didn't have GTA 5 for years, and I used to imagine how to play that game. I used to thought freaking you used to have flying cars, but I was like too young to find out that shit was only for online. But when I finally got GTA 5, it was everything that I imagined, because I had it in my hand. I owned it. I didn't buy off no store that the company still owned. You know what I'm trying to say? I didn't go off the Xbox or PlayStation store to get it, because if I did, PlayStation or Xbox still owned half of the shit. I actually had the case. I owned it. I held it in my arm, bro. Like, I played the fuck out of that game. That's why physical copies are so beautiful. But at the same time, business. Money. But some people love their DVDs. And Tommy has a video on it. The sad death on physical media. Sorry, YouTube, for that yap. I just had to talk about it. Talk to me, Tommy. Make sense about this physical media yumbo jumbo. Tommy?
I want you to picture this. It's Tuesday, September 17th, 2013. I'm saying picture this like most of my audience watching this wasn't children or too young to remember this night.
I remember
it. But F it. It was a crispy September day, just like every other September day. Most people were going on with their regular
I was at school, probably.
Either going to school or work. But that night, humanity was gonna change and never be the same. GTA 5 was dropping. People were lining up hours before the
I was too young to find out.
making sure they called off school
be there
or
for
work
the
the next day to bask in all of its gloriness for at least a full day. News reporters came out to interview people with their pre-game thoughts on how the game was gonna be. When the doors finally opened, people stampeded in like it was their final day on Earth. This was what people now call simpler times. Skip to a date that hasn't happened yet. Thursday, November 19th, 2026. The lines are empty and no one is waiting for some reason. The reason why? Rockstar has announced they're officially ditching a disc copy and GTA 6 won't.
All online.
And Sony clarified even more that they won't produce any more discs for PlayStation consoles starting officially in January 2028. Meeting the era of console discs, having a collection to flex on your friends with the magic game binder, showing how much you're better
I
than
was just about to say that. I used to have the game binder with all my PS3 and Xbox 360 games, bro.
Because you
Damn, I used to
collection
flex.
in them is officially
I used to
dead
flex
and
hard.
has basically solidified that this century will be the end of most physical media. And I'd be lying
Fuck.
to you if I said it doesn't break my heart. At least to me, this seems like Gen Z's first thing to see phased out and humanity evolve past it. And really, it's every generation. Everyone other than Gen Alpha always grew up with physical media around them. We
Yep.
all remember going to Redbox and renting
I was
the
just
movie
talking
and
about
forgetting
that.
to return it and hoping your lawyers don't knock on the door. Or seeing ads about Gamefly and thinking it was the
Gamefly.
future. I actually
Yes.
don't know a single soul who used it, but I assume the company went bankrupt the same way as Redbox because no one returned stuff. One of the first things that pops up in people's minds with seeing physical media diminish from society is you will own nothing and be happy. The origin of it is so wild for people that don't know it. It comes from the World Economic Forum, which is basically an international organization with the biggest leaders and people who shape the world, where they try to find solutions for the world to quote unquote improve it. I get this is supposed to be a positive organization in theory. All I think of when I see pictures like this though is the Kotsky photo with all of them menacingly looking at the camera. They made a presentation in 2016 saying you will own nothing and be happy, where they say products are replaced by services and people will need to rent or share everything they need. The worst quote by far is from the presenter who did it when she said, "Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better." Imagine
What
saying
the
this with a
fuck?
straight face thinking everyone's gonna be like, sounds great. They basically pitched what Plankton did in the SpongeBob movie and hoped for a positive reception. And Loki, as time goes on,
And it's low-key scary for the future. Sorry, YouTube. It's low-key scary for the future of children, bro. Cause like the babies that is born now, growing up into this world, ain't gonna have the mindset of a 2013 kid. Don't know like the boundaries or like what's going on. You know, they just know what's around them, which is sad because they're gonna grow on with a lot of bullshit. Kind of
weren't wrong with the timeline. Everything past 2016 has turned more and more into subscriptions. I mean, for God's sake, they're releasing a car where in order to get the full horsepower of it, you gotta pay a subscription. Imagine paying $100,000 for a brand new car and the company forces a subscription so you can use the full capabilities of it. Privacy concerns start to become worse as governments create more and more surveillance. The ultimate problem with physical game copies going away is the actual ownership. Because some people will defend it saying, who cares anyways, we all buy digital copies now. And I will say that is true. A majority of people aren't driving to the store to buy every brand new game that comes out. But when you buy games at a lot of these companies, you're never actually owning the game. If you buy a game from the PlayStation Store, Microsoft Store, Nintendo Store, and yes, even Steam Store, they're all licensed and not owned, unlike a physical copy. Most of the time, it may not be a problem to have the digital copy, but best believe when there is a problem, there's essentially nothing you can do when you're at the mercy of these companies. Nothing proved this more in 2023 with PlayStation and their Discovery TV controversy. Back in 2023, Sony told its users that because of a licensing disagreement with Discovery TV, that anybody who purchased Discovery TV shows or movies would have the content removed as Sony wouldn't have the license anymore. And there were some pretty big shows on that list, including Mythbusters, King Boss, Naked and Afraid, How It's Made. In total, it would have been 1,318 seasons of TV shows completely wiped from anybody who owned them. Imagine being that one dude that bought like 50 seasons of different shows. I would have crashed out and wreaked havoc at Sony HQ. When this happened, it confirmed everything true people suspected, that companies at any moment could completely fry a product you quote unquote own. And there would be a more than likely chance you wouldn't get a refund. Now, luckily, because of all the backlash they got for this, Sony announced they reached an agreement, so everyone kept their stuff, but that's just for now. Funny thing is, doing research for this video, last month Sony told all its UK users that 551 movies and TV shows for a company named Studio Canal are getting removed in September 2026 because they're losing the license. This one didn't make as much noise, so they probably didn't care to fight it and let it die. But I hope y'all know this is just gonna happen more and more. So even if you're not someone that cares about physical media as much anymore, you should understand why it's needed. It's also happened for games, like a game called The Crew, for example.
The Crew!
Ubisoft sold the game for full price
it?
to people, and after it didn't do as well as they wanted, they decided to...
The Crew had one of the biggest maps that I ever seen in the gaming, bro. Had the fucking United States in that bitch, bro. I remember driving through the whole United States, just looking at everything.
Someone that cares about physical media as much anymore, you should understand why it's needed. It's also happened for games, like a game called The Crew, for example. Ubisoft sold the game for full price to people, and after it didn't do as well as they wanted, they decided to delist it in 2023, and in 2024, they shut down all of the servers. Then right after that, they started yanking the license from people with 0 refunds. This is why they don't want shit in person, because if that was me, I'm not going down without a fight. I'm gonna tell a Ubisoft employee to square up and fight for my copy. I'm keeping it, goddammit. Then instead of hitting people with an apology, maybe giving them refunds for something they bought, Ubisoft doubled down, telling people that you can't complain about what they did because you never owned it. I mean, they're not even hiding the agenda at this point. This shit more rigged than a referee in any World Cup game Messi plays. Because of all of this happening, people have come up with a slogan to fight back. If buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing. Whoever made this gotta get 5 golden stars, because there's no defense these companies can say. Whenever someone downloads a copy of their game and doesn't buy it, they say it's illegal and the person should be fined because it's stealing. But when you buy something that's bought with the thought of its ownership, they can take it away and say you never owned it. They're pretty much that meme of the person spamming easy, and as soon as they get one clap back, they say you're being toxic. At the end of the day, no one is buying these game copies thinking it's just a rental. If you wanted to rent it, then you would just rent it. The reason I say this is because you'll see people defend these companies saying,
well, you should have just read the terms.
Yeah, tell that to Facebook when you don't read their 200 pages of terms and conditions. Then when they sell your personal data to like 100 different companies just to come back saying you should have just read the terms. After that company gets hacked who bought your data, now all your emails and passwords are leaked. That's actually how it works a lot of the times, by the way. But nah, it's your fault for not reading 200 pages of dog shit. The company who maliciously sold your data for profit is not at fault at all. Worst part is you couldn't even successfully sue these companies because they're technically right. You signed an agreement saying you just licensed the product and don't own it. This wouldn't be as much a problem if these companies gave refunds all the time or required it. I think it still would be good to have a physical game in case it gets taken off shelves for archive reasons, which physical copies help with. Like as an example, Steam is probably the most nice when it comes to this. There was a John Wick game that they decided to remove, but instead they delisted it from Steam, and people who bought the copy still have that copy so they can play the game when they want to. Steam so far hasn't had some incident like Ubisoft or Sony, but to be fair, who knows what will happen in the future. Also, another thing people don't think about is how much used games help. If everything is digital, you're not gonna have the classic of being broken down bad, then buying some used copy that may have had some rip marks on the box and suspicious stains. Hey, I'm not gay, but $20 is $20, as the saying goes. It made you as the buyer have more power because you could buy a new game when it comes out for 60 bucks, then maybe resell it for $40 or trade it in, and get the next new game for half off. It was pretty much its own economy, and it was a win-win. You had a used game that you could sell to somebody that never played it for cheaper, and you could take their money and trade it in for a newer game. I understand that GameStop would give you a solid 90% less money than what the game costed if you traded it in with them. But shit, some money back is better than no money. You could also lend games to your friends or trade games with your friends. Hopefully have them actually give the game back, or y'all were not on speaking terms until further notice. I still haven't talked to this in 3rd grade that never gave my SpongeBob movie game back to me. Hope he's doing terrible in life. For a lot of poor kids, this will be their Game Pass and main way they got games. The best bet they have now is if the game studio decides to put games on sale, or getting the
remember I used to I had this friend across the street when I was little that had Call of Duty Ghosts. I used to go over there just to play that shit, bro. That's how impactful digital media was, bro, and how exclusive it was. I was going to a nigga's house just to play another game, bro. That's how, like, what?
Xbox Game Pass, which even that won't have everything they want. Companies are known to keep game prices high no matter how old the game is. Removing physical copies is only to benefit the companies themselves. It's not like they even have to make a mass amount then they have them potentially not sell on shelves. They could make them on order and ship them to people, but they're choosing not to because they know what's smarter for money. I'll end it off with, even though things like this happening are sad, I don't think physical media is truly out yet. People will always appreciate physical value of media, and a lot of people are even fighting back by getting more physical things. An example is vinyls, which saw an increase of more people buying them. Even though it's mainly for the aesthetic and not to take out the big ass disc and play music on it, it's better than nothing, alright? At least people are buying physical media. Also, people are still buying things like manga or books because they want a cool looking collection. So humanity hasn't fully given up to digital media yet. And my hope is we could have a good balance of both, because if we had all digital media, I hope y'all know these companies will be the most scummy, greedy pieces of shit all time. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Tommy. As always, I love you guys consensually. And until next time, I'm out.
Video. www.video, bro. www.video. He's talking real shit. He was talking real shit. We need to stop doing that shit, and we need to start giving physical copies a chance. Come on now. Come on, people. Let's do it.